guys, welcome back to Simply Fujica, a place for budding and aspiring entrepreneurs. Guys, I'm so happy to be in front of you yet again for another great video. If you are new to this channel, I want to welcome you. For those of you who continue to support the channel week after week, I just want to say thank you. Guys, before we get started with today's content, I do want to remind you that I do have my first masterclass happening on the last Saturday of the month, August 27th. At 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be conducting this via Zoom. And guys, I'm talking about all things. How do you get your non-medical home care agency license? So guys, I hope to see you there. The link will be in the description. Please do not forget to register. As we get closer to that time, I will send out that information. Alright guys, let's get started. Guys, today we have another good one. A lot of you are asking, how long does it take to get my business up and running? So I applaud that question because it lets me know that you're thinking, you're really processing, hey, how much money am I going to have to tuck away? And realistically speaking, how long is it going to take for me to go from, thought to concept to actual business? So I think that's a great question. So guys, if that's a topic that you want to explore, then stay tuned. Okay guys, so I'm going to start with, really the answer to that question depends completely on you, right? Because it's really going to take you pushing the needle forward to ensure that it's done in a certain amount of time. Now I will give you an answer in terms of an estimate, and then I will back up and explain where I'm getting that number from. But to me, from concept to you're actually operating your business, I would say it's going to take you about 6 months, okay? But again, you are going to really, your actions, how much you're moving that needle, how aggressive you are in terms of meeting that goal is going to be completely up to you. So let me kind of back it up a little bit. So first we're talking about prepping, right? So once you decide that this is something you truly want to do, you're going to have to put together a business plan. And remember, that business plan is really going to help you understand how you're financing your home care agency, how much funds are you going to need to carry you through until you can actually start getting your clients and actually start seeing some of that return come back in, how much you're going to have to spend on marketing, all of those things, your financial analysis, all of those things are going to be included in your business plan. Now listen, if you plan to outsource that, and have somebody else take care of that for you, well then that's easy. It's just a matter of you finding somebody and giving them a deadline of when that business plan should be complete. If you're doing it yourself, like I did, and at the time I was also working a full-time job, I think it took me maybe about 6 weeks or so to put together. So again, this is me doing a section, putting it down, doing another section, putting it down, because I'm working at the same time, right? So it took me about 6 weeks or so to put together the full business plan. In addition to that, when you're talking about the funds, you have to really consider, especially if you're paying as you go like I did. So for me, I did take some money out of my savings, but I also was taking money from my checks every 2 weeks that I got paid. So I was doing that for a good few months before I actually resigned from my full-time position. So again, depending on your finances, you're going to have to put a calendar. So let's say, and I'm just pulling a number out, let's say you have committed from your business plan that you need to save or you need to have cash on hand in the amount of $10,000. Well, how long is it going to take you to generate that? Okay, so if you're able to pull, $2,000 aside each month, then you're looking at 5 months to have that $10,000 investment done. So then the second piece of that now is, I have $10,000. How soon will I need that full amount? Because what expenses is that $10,000 covering? You may still be able to get started without having that $10,000 in hand, as long as you have access to that cash. That's the beauty of it being liquid. You use it as you need it, right? So again, this is why I'm saying it depends. I'm not trying to be coy, but it really does depend on your situation, okay? So once you have your business plan, once you have your cash in order, the next thing you want to do is start the licensing process, okay? And so remember, the licensing process consists of 2 sections. So section A is your application forms. This is really a matter of you, and I will make sure to have the forms that are needed at the bottom of the screen here, but I have done plenty of videos on the actual licensing process itself, so I'll make sure that those are linked as cards above, and I'll also make sure that they're included in the description. But really quickly, the application forms, it's really going to be as you have time, right? You can sit down and do this in one session if you feel, it's necessary. Or you may say, hey, by the end of so-and-so week, I'm going to make sure that all those things are done. So I would imagine, and I would suggest, it's really not going to take a lot of time to do Section A. Now, Section B is where you're going to spend the majority of your time. So remember, those are your personnel policies. Those are your job descriptions. That's your training program, things of that nature. Again, if you're outsourcing this to someone else, then it's a matter of you guys coming up on an agreed upon date that information will be given to you. If you are doing it yourself, then again, it's going to depend on what your timeline looks like. Okay, so whether you're doing it on the weekends, whether you're doing it on the evenings, if you set up that timeline, I mean, I would say a realistic time frame is anywhere from 30 to 60 days, I would say. And again, that's just making sure that you're setting a timeline in terms of what documents you're working, and then ensuring that you stay on your timeline to ensure that it's done. The second consideration with regards to that is, once you are done with all of your licensing requirements, of course, you submit that information, and then it takes time for them to review it, okay? So I will use myself as an example. I ended up submitting the documentation, I want to say it was mid-September. By New Year's Eve, I knew that I was approved. So you're looking at 2.5 months, closer to 3 months, right? So, actually, I'm sorry, a little over 3 months. So you'll either, once you turn in your packet, usually you get some form of notification. Usually it's a letter letting you know that you passed, and then they want you to sign up for orientation. You could also be known, hey, we received and we reviewed your documents. However, we would like you to work on this section of your policies and procedures. I'm just using that as an example. So it's going to be, again, on you, right? The ball is in your court to make that correction and then send it back to the state. Once that's resolved, then again, you get that approval letter, and then you are scheduled for orientation, and then you are granted your license. Okay, so again, that process for me took about 3 months. So again, I think 6 months is a pretty good time frame, but it will depend on you, how aggressive you are, how aggressive your timeline is, and then if you're working with other people, what's that agreed upon time. Okay, so 6 months, if you just, 6 months, we've been talking about 6 months, right? So that's us getting licensed, that's us with our budget in mind, taking care of our business plan. Okay, what about opening, right? What about hiring your home health aides? So what about marketing? So all of those things that I mentioned is going to elongate the process a little bit. So guys, just my cautionary note here, because remember, you're not supposed to be in operations until you are licensed. So certainly I think you can market your home care agency, right? You can market that you have a business on its way. You can market and kind of put out there that, your business is on its way, or your business you're in the licensing process. Just build that excitement around your home care agency. In terms of the home health aides, I would wait until I'm licensed. Now, this is just my opinion. You have to do what's best for your business, of course. But for me, I did wait until I received my license. And depending on how your agent is with you, my analyst, she actually sent me a copy of it in the email while I waited for a physical copy to come. So once I received that, I was approved. It was no stopping me then, because I knew now it's time to really kick it into high gear. Okay, so hopefully that answered that question for you guys. So again, 6 months, 6 to 9 months, 6 months to a year. Again, it's going to depend on how aggressively you're moving that needle forward. Okay, I will tell you this in hindsight, Of course, when you're excited, time tends to move really slow. But in hindsight, that time moved really quickly. Like, I felt like I was trying to catch up because there's so much buildup going into the licensing. And then after your license, you're like, oh shoot, I need to catch up. All of a sudden, you feel like you're running out of time. So if you pace yourself, you should be good to go. Okay guys, thank you so much for sticking it out to the end for this video. If you haven't already, don't forget to like the video. Do not forget to subscribe. And last but not least, do not forget to hit that bell notification so that you're notified every time I release a new video. Okay guys, that's all I have for you today. Stay blessed.